On this week's video, I'm going to show you guys how to make one of my favorite sauces, a delicious chimichurri. It's a super versatile sauce, and with just a couple easy tweaks, it can be applied to any protein. Ever since I learned how to make chimichurri, it's been my absolute favorite topping on steaks. But over the last couple years, I found that just by adding a couple simple ingredients to the recipe, you can really apply it to all sorts of different proteins. Chicken, salmon, obviously to steak. And I've cooked it at a bunch of different events, sampled it out to a bunch of people, and it has always been a hit. And I want to show you guys how you can make it at home. I love making chimichurri, and I know you guys are going to love it too. And with a couple of these simple tweaks to my recipe, we're going to hit on all these awesome flavor profiles: sweet, tangy, garlicky, herby, and it's going to be amazing on our protein. So let's get right to it. To start, I'm going to show you guys how I make my basic chimichurri recipe. Now, this is the recipe that I first learned. It's got all those kind of classic chimichurri flavors. There's herbs, garlic, the tanginess of the red wine vinegar. When I make my chimichurri, my main two ingredients are cilantro and Italian flat leaf parsley. Now, traditionally, chimichurri is made with parsley. If you're one of the handful of people that cilantro tastes like soap to you, just leave this stuff out and use flat leaf parsley. I like adding cilantro to my chimichurri because it gives it that kind of unique, fresh, herby flavor. Again, you can use just flat leaf parsley, but adding this in will really elevate your basic chimichurri. Now, here's a little dad tip for you, okay? When chopping up cilantro, use the stems. That's where a lot of the cilantro-y flavor comes from. So you can use the leaves, you can use the stems, and just include all that in your mix. Parsley, on the other hand, the stems are a little bit more bitter. So only use the leaves in the chimi and leave the stems out. When it comes to prepping this, chop your parsley and cilantro by hand. You're going to get a much better texture and mouthfeel from your final product. If you use a blender or a food processor, the texture of your chimichurri can be a little bit off. It gets too pasty and the mouthfeel is just not that good. So chop it up by hand. Ideally, you want to prep this the night before. The longer all these ingredients can sit together, the better your chimichurri is going to be. But if you're pressed for time, you can also prep it fresh and just serve it as is. Now, when I make this at home, a lot of times I'm doing this kind of at the last minute. So what I like to do is I'll prep my chimichurri, put everything in the fridge, then I'm going to prep my proteins, cook everything, so the chimichurri has at least, 30, 45 minutes to sit, marinate, and it still comes out really delicious. One of the key ingredients when making chimichurri is salt. I like using sea salt. It has that nice salty flavor without being overly salty or kind of strong like the iodized table salt, so use this. I'm also going to add some crushed red pepper to give it a little more texture and that nice little kick from the peppers, and some dried oregano. And what really is going to bring it all together is red wine vinegar for that nice tanginess, and plenty of olive oil. Now, there is a lot of olive oils out there, but when you make your chimichurri, use regular olive oil. Don't do the extra virgin stuff because it has that kind of a buttery taste to it, right? So you want to use more of a neutral oil, and regular olive oil works best. First up, I'm going to start by cutting up my cilantro. So again, I'm using the stems, I'm using the leaves, and you want to get a nice rough chop. You don't want to get this thing too fine. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're cooking this at home, and it's still going to be delicious. Next, I'm going to cut up my parsley, and here I'm only going to use the leaves. Next, I've got my garlic, and I like to grate that down. It gives it a really nice texture, and it's perfect for my chimichurri. You can go with 2-3 cloves of garlic, and again, you can adjust to your preference. Next, I'm going to go with a heavy pinch of kosher sea salt, dried oregano, and our crushed red peppers. Red wine vinegar is up next, and you want to add just enough to soak all the ingredients. Again, you can adjust to your preference depending how tangy you want it. That's what this red wine vinegar will give to this recipe. And finally, add a whole bunch of olive oil. Again, we're staying away from the extra virgin stuff because it has that kind of buttery flavor. You want to stick with the neutral oil, and plain olive oil works best. Mix everything together. I'm going to put this in the fridge, let it hang out for about an hour, and it's ready to go. Chimichurri is done, and it smells freaking amazing. I'm going to bring this inside, put it in the fridge about 30, 45 minutes, let all those flavors marinate, and it's going to be awesome. Damn. I've got 3 different proteins here. The chimichurri that we just made is my perfect recipe for steaks. It's got the garlic, the herbs, and it's absolutely delicious on beef. For the chicken, I like to add a little sweet and savory, so I'm going to add some honey, some roasted bell pepper, and a shallot to really help bring out the flavors. For the chicken, we're going to go more sweet and savory. I'm going to add some honey, some roasted bell peppers, and a shallot. And finally, for the salmon, I'm going to add plenty of fresh citrus. We've got some oranges, limes, lemons. All that's going to go to our chimichurri to really elevate the salmon. Next up, let's get our proteins on the grill, and I'm really gonna keep the prep here super simple because I want the chimichurris to shine through after everything is done and finished. So for the steaks, I'm just gonna hit them with a little bit of olive oil and season both sides pretty heavily with my steak seasoning, and this is gonna really complement the chimichurri. It's got more herbs, garlic, salt in that spice rub. Make sure to season pretty heavily on both sides, put that off, and just let that hang out. For the chicken, in order to help speed up the cooking process, I'm gonna cut it into half. And in order to do that, I'm gonna start by spatchcocking it. Get all those laughs out. You do that by removing the backbone, and don't toss that out. Put that in a Ziploc bag, put it in your freezer, and the next time you're making a chicken stock or a chicken soup, just drop that guy right in there. Flip it over and then just split it right down the middle. And again, I'm gonna hit the chicken with a little olive oil. This is gonna help the seasoning stick and will help the skin get nice and crispy. And season pretty heavily on both sides with my all-purpose rub. It's salt, pepper, garlic, and it will really work well with our sweet and savory chimichurri. Here's another dad tip for you. To save some money, buy your chicken at the store whole and butcher it at home yourself. And finally, for the fish, hit the flesh side with a little olive oil and season with my sweet barbecue rub. This has granulated honey as the sweetener, and it will work really great with our citrusy chimichurri. I've got my chimichurri that we prepped earlier, the one for the steaks, right? That one's got the garlic, the spices, the herbs, really good on beef. And we split that into two other bowls, one for the chicken and one for the salmon. Let's prep the chicken one next. To my base chimichurri, I'm gonna add my diced up shallot. This is gonna give it that nice oniony, fresh flavor. Next, I've got these diced up roasted bell peppers. And finally, I'm gonna add a drizzle of honey to give it just a little bit of sweetness and balance everything out. For my salmon chimichurri, we're gonna add a lot of fresh citrus. First up, I've got a lemon. We're gonna zest this down and add that fresh lemon juice. I'm also gonna add some lime zest and lime juice. And finally, orange zest and orange juice to help bring it all together. Again, a little bit more sweetness, more freshness, and a lot of the citrusy flavor is gonna come from the zest and not from the juice that we're adding into it. First up, let's get the chicken on the grill, since this is gonna take the longest to cook. So it's gonna go on the indirect heat side of the grill. It's cruising at about 350 degrees. That's also gonna help get the skin nice and crispy. There we go. I'm gonna cover this up and let that chicken cook. Ooh, check that out. This is exactly what you want on your chicken. Look at that. Nice and crispy skin. You get this beautiful char from cooking it over that high heat. Look at this, puffed up nicely. I mean, this is perfect. This is exactly what you want on your chicken. Almost kind of that borderline burnt, but not quite burnt. Now, I like to cook my chicken to 160 in the breast, pull it off, and let it rest for about 10 minutes. It's gonna be juicy and delicious every single time. Okay. Next up, we're gonna do the steaks, and for these, I like to do these over high direct heat. So I'm gonna place these directly over the coals. Ooh, you can hear that sizzle. Gonna flip these guys every minute or so until they're done. So this is kind of what you're going for. You get this nice crust on the outside. You can see the charred edges. This fat is getting nice and crispy right there. Internal temperatures are about 125, so it's a nice medium rare finish. I'm gonna pull these off here in just a second, let them rest, and it's gonna be really good. I mean, that's a really nice looking steak. Crispy fat, charred up edges, nice crust. Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And finally, let's put on the salmon. And I just wanna say, look how nice this looks with that seasoning. It's been sitting here for a little bit, absorbing, sweating. It is looking really, really nice. So the way that I like to cook this, because this has the skin on the underside, I'm gonna go directly on the indirect heat side of the grill. I'm not really worrying about sticking because it does have that skin, so if anything, that's gonna come off right with it. I'm gonna place it right here, just like that. I'm gonna cover up the grill and cook this until it reaches just about 130 internal, and it's gonna be perfect. Let me show you guys the salmon because it is looking pretty spectacular. Oh, look at that. Look at this crust. That's from the sweet barbecue rub. It has that granulated honey and it just kind of caramelizes all over the top. Let's take this guy off the grill. I've got a nice white spatula to fit my salmon. And just gently go underneath. Oh, look at that. No sticking, no issues. Oh, yeah. Wow. We've got all three proteins cooked. I've got all my three different chimichurris, and this all looks and smells absolutely amazing. Salmon seasoned with the sweet barbecue rub, and the chimichurri with the citrus zest and citrus juice. We've got the beautiful steak seasoned with the steak seasoning, and of course the classic chimichurri with the garlic, the herbs, and finally the chicken with my all-purpose seasoning and the sweet and savory chimichurri with the honey, the roasted peppers. Let's slice up our strip steaks. And the way that I like to do it is to just kind of go from one end to the other. I'm going to cut into these nice slices, and this will be perfect for topping with the chimichurri. Oh yeah. Steak is cut, so next up I'm going to prep my chicken for my chimichurri. By the way, the sun just came out, so hopefully you guys can see everything well. It's super bright out here. But anyways, for the chicken, again, keeping it super simple since these were cut in half. All that I'm going to do is just separate the thigh and the drumstick from the breast, so you get this little chicken quarter. I mean, look at the skin, crispy. You got that seasoning. Ooh, oh yeah, perfect. Chicken is ready, and the salmon is gonna stay as is. This is looking spectacular. There's no further cutting or prep needed, so I think we are ready to get sauced up. Before you pour this over your meats, just give it another stir. A lot of the seasonings and the herbs tend to kind of settle on the bottom, and then just go right over the top. So let's start with the steak. Look at that, just drizzle the chimichurri right over. That oil is infused with all these delicious flavors. Spread that out. I mean, this smells so good. You can smell the garlic, the red wine vinegar, the spices. That is perfect. Next up, we've got the chicken. So this has the roasted peppers, the honey, the shallot. And we're going to do the same thing as we did with the steak. Just pour it right over the top. Oh yeah. It looks so good on this crispy charred up skin. You get these fresh herbs. Those peppers. Oh yeah, look at that. And finally, we've got the salmon with our citrus infused chimichurri. So we've got the citrus zest, citrus juice, and we're going to do the same thing. Just pour it right over the top of the fish. Let that kind of drizzle down. This citrus chimichurri pairs so well with my sweet rub. Oh yeah. And just like that, we've got our three dishes done, plated, topped with the chimichurri. We've got a bunch of flies coming our way. The sun is out, the cicadas are out, but I am excited to try this food because it all looks and smells absolutely amazing. I'm gonna go for the steak first. It's one of my favorites. You got plenty of the chimi. I mean, you've got the juices right there. Just going for the whole piece. Chimichurri on steak is absolutely amazing. Like, it's made for steak. The garlic, the red wine vinegar, you get the tanginess, you get those herbs, the freshness. Putting this on the New York strip, it has that nice kind of mouthfeel and texture, nice beefy flavor. You get the charred crust, that soft fat on the side. If you're gonna do anything out of this video, like, you just gotta make this chimichurri with the steak because it is lights out amazing. Let's go for the salmon next. It is a very underrated cut. Oh, yeah. Look at that, look how it just flakes right off. Cooking salmon to the right temperature, it makes it tender, it's juicy. You get the chimichurri right there. Right away, you're hit with the citrus. You get that lime zest, the lime juice, that orange zest, a little sweeter finish from that sweet barbecue rub. Oh yeah. I mean, if you're not a fish person, if you're not a salmon person, you will be after you put this on your salmon. It is amazing. Finally, we've got our chicken. Now, I think that this looks the best out of all three of these recipes because you have those roasted red bell peppers, you have that shallot in there, of course you have the herbs, that charred up skin. I mean, this looks, I mean, look, it just looks freaking amazing, is what it looks like. So I'm just gonna go in right in for the bite, right for it. All right, I know I said the steak was my favorite, but I don't think it's my favorite anymore. Oh my God. The chicken was seasoned with my all-purpose rub. So it's salt, pepper, garlic, paprika. You get that charred skin on the outside. And you get that mild sweetness from the honey in the chimichurri. Those peppers, the shallot, the herbs. Yeah, I think this is the one right here. This is absolutely amazing. Just gonna scoop some of this chimi right on top. I mean, look at that. That is the perfect bite. Little skin, little meat, plenty of that chimi. Oh yeah. And the recipe itself is super easy, right? It's just kind of simple, basic ingredients to make the chimichurri. And then you just doctor it up to make it fit the salmon, to make it fit the chicken. A couple additional ingredients, and it's lights out delicious. It really elevates whatever protein you're cooking and just takes it to the next level. Yeah, you guys definitely need to try this. Any one of these proteins, whatever you like, steak, chicken, salmon, it is all absolutely delicious. Oh yeah. Wow. That's good. That is really, really good. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and make my chimichurri. This stuff is legit really, really good. Wow. And really the base of my chimichurri is flat leaf parsley. That's the cilantro, stupid. Put everything, I don't need to put everything into your bowl. Like, where else am I gonna fucking put it? In my fucking ass. Next, I've got some diced up roasted peppers. Again, to add that nice savory, crunchy note. No, it's not fucking crunchy. What are you, fucking stupid? Oh, jeez, what the fuck is that? A wasp. Why is it so stiff?